We can certainly accommodate that.
Is your business protected against the threat of malicious litigation and frivolous lawsuits? Are you sinking company profits into marketing campaigns that do nothing to contribute to the growth of your business? Bottled Business Sense provides practical business perspectives that uniquely emphasize both legal and media marketing strategies to protect and ensure the longevity of your business. Now, whether you're trying to provide a startup business with some level of stability or an established business with foolproof asset and estate protection, or simply attempting to get a better return for your business marketing dollars, Bill Bernard and Rick Moscoso will expose potential pitfalls to ensure the security and growth of your business, free from unwanted expense and the threat of litigation. You'll learn how to implement marketing and protection tools equal to those used by today's most successful corporations. Let's join Bill and Rick for today's Bottled Business Sense show.
Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific time here on the Bottled Business Sense show. Welcome to all of our returning viewers, as well as, hey, if you're new, give us a shout on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Love to hear from you, and as well as know where you're chatting from. Today we are going to continue on our estate planning tour with Mr. Bill Bernard on the other side. He's going to talk about a subject called the California TOD deed in estate planning. But before that, let's get him on the show and welcome him to this episode. How you doing, Bill?
I'm doing great, Rick. Thank you. And hello, everybody. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you can take advantage of this show and the free information we provide on a monthly basis. You know, this California TOD deed, TOD for transfer on death, is something that is not very old. And I think I should start out by pointing out that, estate planning has had a great impact on a lot of people's lives. And I've often said that anybody who doesn't take advantage of an estate plan of some sort is either foolish or selfish or both, because there's really no reason not to do it. It's an investment, not only in yourself, which a lot of people don't understand, but also in your family. So if you don't care about yourself or your family, then I usually find that's the kind of people, most people, who don't get an estate plan, unless it's a matter of affordability. And I've talked a number of times on the show, as has Rick, about how affordable I try to make these estate plans. Because candidly, I'm not in the business of trying to make a lot of money anymore. I'm more in the business of trying to help people and give them a price that they can afford. So having made that little self-absorbed speech, let me just say that there are common means for transferring real property, and let's talk a little bit about that, upon the death of an owner. And there's three basic well-known methods. And obviously, since we're talking about a deed, that's going to involve real property. The first method is holding property in joint tenancy or as community property. Most people are familiar with that. The person you hold the property in joint tenancy with immediately gets the entirety of the property when you pass. Number two is via a living trust. You put the property in a living trust, it passes to the beneficiaries that you designate. But number three is also a will. You can pass property to a specific person by way of a will. The problem with a will that doesn't accompany a living trust is the will also requires you to go through probate. And we all know what the probate nightmare entails. By this time, anyway, we should. But number four is what we're here to talk about. In 2016, a lesser known but alternative method to keep a decedent's home out of probate, because that's our objective, became available to Californians. And it is the revocable transfer on death deed, which is a simple and inexpensive way to transfer real property to a beneficiary in California. Now, I don't want to go through all of the reasons why you wouldn't do this by way of a living trust. Maybe you have a property that's not worth very much money. Maybe all you have is a piece of property. Maybe you don't have, for whatever reason, the wherewithal to get a trust package. But whatever the reason, this is made available to you in California. It's a simple and inexpensive way to transfer property. I should mention that TODs are now permitted in 26 states as well as the District of Columbia, and it allows a person to leave his or her real property to a designated person or persons. You could leave it to multiple people, such as a family member, friend, longtime partner, or other loved one, without having to set up a living trust. And I hate those words, without having to set up a living trust. I got to tell you right off the top, Rick knows this. I hate having to say that, but it's available to you. It's out there. It is an estate planning tool. And because of the integrity that we want to exude here on this show, we're gonna tell you about it. The TOD is considered a non-probate transfer under the California Probate Code. So what are the limiting criteria of using a TOD, if any? Because that's probably something we all need to know about, right? While a TOD is attractive because of its simplicity and inexpensiveness, there are specific limiting criteria and procedural requirements to use a TOD. First and foremost, there are limitations on the type of property that can be transferred through a TOD. Wouldn't you know it, right? There's going to have to be some restrictions. The first restriction is it must be a single-family home or condominium unit. And when I say restriction, it's a misnomer. There are restrictions, but these are the types of properties that you can use by way of a TOD. Number one, a single-family home or condominium. Number two, a single-family residence on agricultural property of 40 acres or less. A single-family residence on agricultural property of 40 acres or less. Please don't call me or email me and ask me why they limited it to 40 acres. I don't know the answer to that, to be candid. There are some things that we just don't know on this show, right, Rick?
That's right.
And number three, a residence with no more than 4 residential dwelling units, right? Because you could live in a residence and it has other dwelling units on it. Other requirements that a revocable TOD must be fulfilled is it must be signed and dated before a notary public to be valid. It must be recorded within 60 days or less from the date it is signed. And it is revocable and can be revoked by the transferor, the person who makes the deed, at any time. So let's go over that again briefly. It must be signed and dated before a notary public, just like a trust. It must be recorded within 60 days after it is dated and signed, and it can be revoked by you at any time, right? As we move toward the end of the show, I want to point out that upon the death of the transferor, or you, the person making the deed, the beneficiary must file a change of ownership statement. The person getting the property must file a change of ownership statement with the county assessor's office within 150 days of the date of death. So you want to get the certificate of death, and you want to go ahead and file this deed, which makes you the beneficiary of the property within 150 days of the date of that death of the transferor, the person giving you the property. Remember that a California TOD may name multiple transferees. You can leave it to multiple people, not just one. And you can transfer unequal interests. So I can leave 30% to Rick, 20% to Mary, and 50% to my concubine. I don't know, whoever, right? You can leave it to different people, right? Different percentages. Now, before we close the show, there's something that is not specifically on the topic of TOD, but is important and relates to estate planning and the need to stay out of probate, which is what we've been generally speaking about, right? Because you have a trust, and you have a transfer on death deed, you're not going to go to probate. The legislature in California recently passed a bill that raises the small estate probate to a limit of $166,250. So in California, the law was that if you have an estate that's worth $150 or less, you can file a form called a small estate affidavit, which allows you to transfer that small estate worth 150 grand or less without going through probate, should you not have a trust. The legislature has raised that amount from $150 to $166,250. So now if your entire estate is worth $166,250 or less, and you don't have a living trust, you don't have a TOD, you can go ahead and move to leave that estate to whoever you desire by way of a small estate affidavit that you need to file with the court. See an attorney about that. We're not going to discuss all of the details of that here, but it's pretty simplistic, candidly. You can research it on your own. I would advise an attorney's guidance, but the forms are available to you if you need it. Okay, so that's our estate update for today. I wanted to make sure you guys understood this. And please make sure you do some research on this and call your own attorney or us if you need any further information. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to Bill directly by the information below this video, or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, or even you can watch previous episodes of the Bottle Business Sense Show on our website at bottlebusinesssenseshow.com. Hey, we'd love to hear from you if you have any particular topics or areas that you would like Bill to cover. Drop us a line at any of the social touch points or on email at bottlebusinesssenseshow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. So thanks again, Bill. Reach out to Bill. Information is below.
You got it.
And we will see you on the next episode of the Bottled Business Sense Show. Take care.
Take care, everybody, and have a prosperous week. Bye-bye.